Makim. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakak Badash Barakatham. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who teach and rule well, and peace and salutations to the hopeful elect, pushing forth this rock, this gospel amongst the four winds with elusiveness, truth, and sincerity. To you I say Shalom. This is your brother Paratham. And this lesson, wanted to get into the account of Bel and the dragon. And for those who don't know, this is in the Apocrypha. This is the rest of the book of Daniel. And the topic is just going to be on, why we shouldn't put our faith and give praise to these false idols, these false gods, man. This is a very interesting story, and I'm gonna just get right into it. Lord willing, it's edifying. All right. So I'm gonna start at verse 3 of Bel and the Dragon. All right. This is, I'll start at 3. I'm gonna skim through it. All right. So verse 3 says, "Now the Babylons had an idol called Bel, also known, Esau, Satan, Baal. You see different names, for different times, different captivities. You see, but continuing, and there were spent upon him every day 12 great measures of fine flour and 40 sheep and 6 vessels of wine, and the king worshipped it and went daily to adore it. But Daniel worshipped his own power, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. And the king said unto him, Why doest not thou worship Bel? And he answered and said, Because I may not worship idols made with hands, but the living power who hath created the heaven and the earth, and have sovereignty over all flesh. Then said the king unto him, Thinkest thou not that Bel is a living power? Seest thou not how much he eateth and drinketh every day? Then Daniel smiled, Daniel's mocking him, and said, O king, be not deceived, for this is but clay within and brass without, and did never eat or drink anything. So the king was wroth, he was furiated, and called for his priests and said unto them, If ye tell me not who this is that devoureth these expenses, the fine flour, and the wine, the sacrifices, it says, ye shall die. But if ye can certify me that Bel devoureth them, then Daniel shall die, for he has spoken blasphemy against Bel. And Daniel said unto the king, Let it be according to thy word. Daniel all right, bet. Let's get it. All right, continuing in verse 11. So Bel's priest said, Lo, we go out, but thou, O king, set on the meat, make ready the wine, and shut the door fast, and seal it with thine own signet. And tomorrow when thou comest in, if thou findest not that Bel hath eaten up all, we will suffer death, or else Daniel that speaketh falsely against us. And they little regarded it, for under the table they had made a privy entrance, whereby they entered in continually and consumed those things. So they made a trap door. The priest was playing the king the whole time. They convinced the king that Bel was eating all that shit, drinking the wine that was laid out continually every night, as frequently as they laid it out. All right, they had a trap door, and I'm just going to continue reading. All right, it said, and they little regarded it, for under the table they had made a privy entrance, whereby they entered in continually and consumed those things. So when they were going forth, the king set meats before Bel. Now Daniel had commanded his servants to bring ashes, and those strewed throughout all the temple in the presence of the king alone. Then went they out and shut the door and sealed it with the king's signet, and so departed. So now you see how clever Daniel is. It's a reason why they used, Daniel as an example when they said that they were wiser than Daniel, and that they meaning, Esau, the children of light, not the children of light, but, the children of Esau, the children of the wicked. Because Daniel was one clever brother, man. It said he commanded his servants to bring down ashes, and those they strew throughout all the temple in the presence of the king alone. Then went they out and shut the door and sealed it with the king's signet, and so departed. All right, so they put the ashes out so that they could see, and him knowing this in the back of his mind already, they put the ashes out to line up the priest servants, the men, women, and children that were going in and were in fact eating. And you know what? I'm gonna just continue reading. I'll continue reading. Salaki. All right. So this is verse 15. Now in the night came the priests with their wives and their children, as they were wont to do, and did eat and drink of all. See. So Daniel already knew that Baal, this false idol, this fake god, he knew that he wasn't eating the food and drinking the wine, right? He knew that they were servants coming in, and that it was more to, you know, the picture. So he had his servants, because Daniel was, you know, he was of a high rank, all right? You know, because of his gift to interpret the dreams and whatnot. He had his servants lay out ashes so that they could see the footprints of the men, the women, and the children that were going in and fucking all the food up. All right? So continuing. This is verse 16. In the morning betime the king arose, and Daniel with him. And the king said, Daniel, are the seals whole? And he said, Yea, O king, they be whole. Mind you, they was clever enough to put up that, reseal the door with that same signet of the king. The king must have been, you know, he wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed. I'm gonna say that. All right. So verse 17 says, Salakia, verse 18, and as soon as he had opened the door, the king looked upon the table and cried with a loud voice, Great art thou, O Baal, and with thee is no deceit at all. And the king said, Salaki, then laughed Daniel. Now Daniel's Daniel getting a kick out of this shit, because Daniel know he see right through the king's priests, and he know what's going on. He said this. Then laughed Daniel, and held the king that he should not go in, and said, Behold now the pavement, and mark well whose footsteps are these. And the king said, I see the footsteps of men, women, and children. And the king was angry, and took the priests with their wives and children, who showed him the privy doors, where they came in and consumed such things as were upon the table. All right. Therefore the king slew them, and delivered Baal into Daniel's power, who destroyed him and his temple. You know what I mean? So Daniel made the king a believer. But now we're not going to go that far yet. There's still more to the story. But you know, Daniel proved the king wrong, proved the priest wrong, men, women, and children who was just probably paid to do it. This is just vainly speaking as a man and just doing what they were told. You know, that cost them their lives, but it was all the Lord's will. All to prove the mighty power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. All right. So continuing this verse 23. And in that same place there was a great dragon, which they of Babylon worshipped. And the king said unto Daniel, Wilt thou also say this is of the brass? Lo, he liveth, he eateth, and drinketh. Thou canst not say that he is no living power. Therefore worship him. He's telling Daniel, you going to say the same shit about this dragon? Clearly he's not of the last, so worship him. All right. Verse 25. Then said Daniel unto the king, I will worship the Lord my power, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, for he is the living power, the one and only. All right. But give me leave, O king, and I shall slay this dragon without sword or staff. The king said, I will give thee leave. Then Daniel took pitch and fat and hair, and did seethe them together, and made lumps thereof. This he put into the dragon's mouth, and so the dragon burst asunder. And Daniel said, Lo, these are the gods ye worship. So Daniel, being the wise man that he is, he showed his wit here in this situation. You know, his wisdom. He threw together some mixed a couple different chemicals together, some herbs, you know, some fat that gave off some combustible chemical reaction as to when he put these lumps therein and the dragon, man, it blew up. Blew that shit up. Daniel 2, the king of Babylon, 0. Alright? Continuing, this is verse 28. When they of Babylon heard that, they took great indignation and conspired against the king, saying, the king has become a Jew, and he hath destroyed Bel. He hath slain the dragon and put the priest to death. So they came to the king and said, deliver us Daniel, or else we will destroy thee and thine house. Now when the king saw that they pressed him sore, being constrained, he delivered Daniel unto them, who cast him into the lion's den, where he was 6 days. And in the den were 7 lions. Wow, 7 for completion. And they had given them every day 2 carcasses and 2 sheep, which then were not given to them, and to the intent they might devour Daniel. Now there was in jewelry a prophet called Habakkuk, who had made pottage and had broken bread in a bowl and was going into the field for to bring it to the reapers. But the angel of the Lord said unto Habakkuk, go carry the dinner that thou hast into Babylon unto Daniel, who is in the lion's den. And Habakkuk said, Lord, I never saw Babylon, neither do I know where the den is. And the angel of the Lord took him by the crown and bare him by the hair of his head, and through the vehemency of the spirit set him in Babylon over the den. So this is, man, to me it sounds like they transported, you know, instantly. But, you know, again, I'm just speaking as a man, you know, a little spiritual power, if you will. All right. So continuing, verse 27, and Habakkuk cried, saying, O Daniel, Daniel, take the dinner which Yahweh hath sent thee. And Daniel said, Thou hast remembered me, O Yahweh, neither hast thou forsaken them that seek and love thee. So Daniel arose and did eat, and the angel of the Lord set Habakkuk in his own place again immediately. So he was translated back to where he was. That's beautiful, man. For what are Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai? We be those men to witness these miracles, man. To witness spiritual power, to have these experiences. You know, these books are for us are an account, not only to build our faith, but they guide us, man. You see? All right, so continuing. This is verse 40. Upon the 7th day, the king went to bewail Daniel, and when he came to the den, he looked in, and behold, Daniel was sitting. Then cried the king with a loud voice, saying, Great art thou, Lord, power of Daniel, God of Daniel, and there is none other beside thee. And he drew him out and cast those that were the cause of his destruction into the den, and they were devoured in a moment before his face. Why? Because Daniel had that hedge around him, man. Daniel had that hedge around him. All right. It's clear that, you know, the Lord is dealing with a select few men in every generation, man. In this case, it was Daniel. He was a prophet, you know. He was an interpreter of dreams. You see? You know, the brother was just wise, man. And through the spirit, power, and name of Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai, and him having that faith and moving in the spirit of Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai, man, he was delivered. All right. So that's all I wanted to get into all that, man. You know, the moral of this story is, man, cast away those false gods, those false idols, you know, them philosophies. You know, don't put your damn woman or your children on a pedestal, man, because they're all gifts. The women that help the children are gifts that can be taken away, man. You put Yahweh Shem Yahushai first, man. You know? Meditate day and night. You know, in his ways, meditate day and night, man. Rehearse the righteous acts. We almost out of here, man. It's too late for missteps. And I'm speaking to myself, too. All right, so with that, I'm going to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Shem Yahushai. By Hashem Rakak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of great millstone who teach and rule well. And peace and salutations to the hopeful elect. Shalom, Makim.